me here is Chase DeMoor. Chase, you reached out after the JMX thing. He has said some stuff about you. What is your response to the way JMX has spoken about how your whole deal has gone down?
Like I'm big on giving credit where credit is due, and I think that this particular situation, like I'm gonna have to completely remove the credit from it because I reached out to JMX personally through DM before contracts started getting negotiated. I told him take the fight against me, fight me, bro. I understand that he's had boxing matches in the past. I've had one. He's had four. He's got me an experience, and I told him, I will come to London and fight him. He did not respond to my DM. However, he goes to his manager, whoever his manager is, and is claiming that he wants this fight. I've spoken to multiple people, Keemstar. I've spoken to Mams Taylor. I've spoken to my management, and we were all trying to make this fight happen. However, his stipulation is he wanted me to drop from 230 pounds to 200 with a 5-pound wiggle room in there. So 205 in about 10 days, fly to London from LA and fight him on short notice for $10,000. And my management said no to the $10,000. It wasn't me that said no. I spoke with Mams, his management, and the rest of the Fight Punch promo, and I said, I'll take the fight. They came back and said, we'll give him $25K if he comes and takes the fight. And I still said yes, but they said they were going to fine me if I miss weight. I said, why can JMX not come up in weight? JMX didn't want to come up in weight and fight me. He wanted me to show up tired, weak, hungry, and deprived to fight him for almost nothing. And I was still going to do it. And I find it extremely disrespectful that he goes online. He pays some kid that we don't, Ginta, whatever his name is, somebody Ginty, nobody really knows. They didn't want to post him. They didn't want to tag him in anything. So I had to go and find his Instagram myself, show everybody who it is that he's fighting. And they're basically paying this kid $100 to come and take a whooping so that JMX can post about it. We all know it's a setup fight. Everybody in the boxing world knows that that's a setup fight. And the fact that kid is willing to go in there and fight somebody like JMX with almost no experience, no training, that really shows me who has bigger balls, and I think that JMX's balls here are very strong. So that's my opinion.
And of course, I think the audiences won't really understand that, like, when it comes to management turning down fights and stuff, it's not that, like you say, you can go to Keem and you can agree to $10,000. You could agree to $10 if you wanted. But the fact of the matter is your management get paid a certain percentage based on these things. And these companies can't necessarily agree to take, let's say I don't know your managerial situation, but let's say for argument's sake, it's 10%. They can't agree to take $1,000. By the time they get taxed and they go over to the UK, they'll have lost money on the deal.
Exactly. And as Americans, we get taxed on everything. And my management, we're all based out of California. So
the worst state, right?
The worst state. So we already have like a 54% tax. So say they offered me $10,000, which is what their initial offer was. We still have to pay for the training. We have to pay for, getting over there, the flights, the hotels. You automatically take, half of that away because of taxes. You're looking at $5,000. And then, you got to pay the management, 10% of that. We're not making any money there. And my management, we're working with Adidas, we're pitching fights in Germany, for these influencer title fights and much bigger things. It didn't make sense for any of us to take this pointless fight against, somebody like JMX, who in the US, nobody really knows JMX. I'm on TV over here. He does YouTube in the UK. It's more for publicity for him. Obviously I did my post for the Social Gloves boxing fight. I had the third highest pay-per-view sales behind Austin McBroom, whose event it was, Gibb, who has, arguably the biggest and strongest following fan base. Yeah. And then it was me. I did my job. I promoted the fight. I sold pay-per-view tickets. I did everything I needed to do. They knew that they were going to get, a lot of money watching me fight. The fact of the matter is, under a legal standpoint, I could say I want the fight all I want. I can't take the fight. I'm under a contractual basis with my management. My management says no. They get the final, he can't take the fight. We're not making any money. It's just costing us, time, effort, energy. Say I go out there and I lose the fight. Now I've lost the fight to somebody that, doesn't really help. me in any
Yeah.
shape, way, or form. And then, you know, to counter on top of that, you look at as far as like what JMX is concerned, he's an experienced fighter. He's
Yeah.
had his boxing debuts. I've had one fight that I fought, you know, with, you know, 2 scratched eyeballs and a broken nose, that a lot of people know about. And the fact of the matter is to have me show up, you know, 30 pounds lighter. Mind you, I'm, you know, 230 pounds, but I'm 7% body fat. You know, you're talking about dropping a
Yeah.
dangerous amount of weight in almost no time, flying halfway across the planet, fighting in
Yeah.
a completely different time zone against you know his card people. You know
Yeah.
whether
Hometown guy. Yeah.
yeah, you know what I mean. And it's a Misfits boxing card. We all know, like, you know, boxing's a lot of politics just as much as it is fighting. You know, whether
Mhm.
we go out there and he knocks me out or he doesn't, you know, they could still say
Yeah.
he won the fight. You know, I have this loss on the record. It didn't make any sense for
Well,
no
the
money to take that
PBA
fight.
judges in the UK are kind of not super popular with the American fighters. I understand, generally between the Showstar event and Misfits last time, the American fighters not had the best of luck with the judges over here.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, it was so much high risk. And you know, what pissed me off, my friend, is I reached out to JMX personally. I told him
Mhm.
he needs to take the fight because I've already agreed to it. And he didn't even message me back. And then he posts on Twitter some, you know, half screenshot of saying something like Chase backed out of the fight. And so I went and I posted screenshots from his manager, from Keemstar, from the Misfits Boxing, whoever runs that page. I posted every screenshot I had of me saying in each one of those, give me the fight,
Mhm.
and them saying that JMX has to agree to the fight. You know, it was him that wouldn't agree to the fight. And my only thing is I tweeted openly, I said, I agree to take the fight for whatever amount of money if he agrees to just let me fight at my own weight. I'll come down to 220. That's 10 pounds, which is doable in 2 weeks. I'll fight him at 220, and he could, you know, anything past 200 is heavyweight anyways. And he
Yeah.
could come up from 190 or whatever he is, and he could fight, you know, at heavyweight, just like he's 4-0 fighting at heavyweight. So I don't know why he felt the need to try to weaken me and have me go out there. And then he goes on these podcasts and he goes on Twitter and he's basically saying that, you know, I'm the chicken shit when the whole time I tweeted at him, you know, 4, 5, 6, 7 days in a row at times saying, you know, this is day 7 of me telling JMX to stop trying to take this easy fight that, you know, he has tomorrow against Ginta, and you know, fight a real competitor. You know, this man, he's just trying to pad his record right now, and the whole world knows that. And you know, he's sleeping right now, having the time of his life because he knows he's going to go in there. He's basically going to annihilate this 21-year-old kid with no fighting experience. And that to me is
Will
like,
you even
it's
watch this
embarrassing.
fight tomorrow night?
I'm not watching it. I cannot contribute. I cannot support that. My eyes are gonna be glued to the other fights on the card that, you know, can more agree with. You know, Slim and Ryan Taylor. You know, I like
Mhm.
Slim a lot. He's a good friend of mine. You know, I'm betting all my cards on him. But I'm not gonna watch the JMX Ginta fight purely based off of I don't think that fight should even be happening. I think that's just a padded fight to fill time.
Now there, I mean no offense through this statement, but I'm sure it will be offensive to you. There would be a school of thought that stylistically, and experience wise, that maybe a fight between you and JMX shouldn't necessarily happen based on, you know, the bit of boxing we've seen from you on Social Gloves and the fact that he's about to have had 4 fights, 3 boxing, 1 MMA. There's a school of thought that says that maybe you wouldn't necessarily be ready boxing wise to fight him in the next couple of weeks or months regardless.
Yeah, and I can respect that. You know, here's the thing about social media is, especially in the boxing world, is you
Mm-hmm.
post anything, everybody and their mom's going to tell you how to throw a jab, how to box, how to do
Yeah.
this and that, and it goes back to when, you know, even Mike Tyson said it. You know, everybody has a plan until, you know, they're in the ring and they get punched. You know, it's different being on the other side. You know, everybody's going to try to coach you differently in the fight, and they could say what they want about, you know, the matchups between whoever and fight whoever, but here's the reality is, one, none of us, including myself, are trained professional fighters. That
Mm-hmm.
we're all social media influencers. Bottom line. That's what we get. That's our profession. That's what we do. We entertain fights, and we promote them. And you know, I think that the problem is like we start writing this line about these influencers who think that they're actual fighters that want to, you know, fight real people. But here's the bottom line at the end of the day is with the Ginta and the JMX fight, is Ginty, whatever his name is Ginty's not a really an influencer. He's got less than 100K on Instagram. He doesn't have like a strong fan base. He doesn't have a following. He's not on TV. Whereas JMX, he's built like this YouTube following at least. Whereas me, I'm on TV. You know, I'm on the biggest reality show arguably that's ever been made. You know, and I think that, you know, when it comes to the terms of who should be fighting who, is I'm not sitting here trying to have an argument about clout and this, that, and the fourth. It's about, you know, I said take the fight. He said no, and then tried to tell the world that I'm the one that backed out of the fight. That's the problem I'm having.
Of course. And to be fair to Ginty, I believe that his following is over on TikTok. I believe he has in the region of just under 900,000 followers over there. I know that the TikTok algorithm pushes things a little differently. It's not exactly the same as being, like you say, you're on one of the biggest TV shows on Netflix, very different to that. And obviously JMX has his history on YouTube. So there's different levels of following, I suppose. But yeah, it is interesting. And it seems to me, so JMX goes out and wins tomorrow night. It seems to me that's probably a foregone conclusion, I would imagine. Sky Ginty's not great. That this sets everything up perfectly for you guys to jump on the card in January, where KSI is headlining in the US.
Yeah, I mean, it does set up a lot of plays, and I think that is a very foreseeable thing. I think that if you were a betting man, that I would bet that that's going to be the next play. I think that the biggest thing right now is a lot of people don't know this, or they might, that, you know, fighting is all about the more confident guy. And I think, you know, taking a easy fight, you know, winning a fight, it helps stem confidence into that. You know, so now you can hype up JMX, like, you know, he knocked out this guy or this, that, and now he's got this other fight. You know, I think that is definitely going to play a factor into it. But the thing about it is like, I don't believe in setting people up. And I think that, you know, you go to a guy like Ginty who doesn't have, you know, this super strong following. To be fair, he has, you know, whatever on TikTok, but we all understand that TikTok's a little bit different than other platforms. But here's the thing is, you know, you go to a guy like him and you say like, hey, we're going to put you on this boxing card. You're going to get a lot of publicity, a lot of press, a lot of followers from it. It's easy to convince a guy like that win or lose the fight to do it, essentially, you know. And you know, the problem that I'm having is, you know, with JMX is, you know, like he's going around, he's liking all these tweets. He doesn't want to openly directly say anything to my face, but he can go on these podcasts and he can go online and he can say whatever he wants. But he won't say it directly to me. And, you know, like he still has not messaged me back on Instagram or any other socials. And, you know, he's clearly seen it. I've tagged him in the screenshots, and, you know, I'm just kind of like waiting for a response. You know, you don't go on these things and say, oh, Ginta has more balls than Chase, when I'm the one saying, bro, like, I'll fight you for whatever dollar amount. Just fight at my weight. I'm not gonna, you know, put my health at risk dropping 30 pounds in 10 days to come and fight you, bro. You're either gonna fight me, you know, at my best, or, you know, you're gonna fight a guy like Ginty to pad your record. Like, that to me is just, it's hard to give respect to that.
So after your last fight, you know, tough outing against a guy, like you say, you had some injuries going into it. You were against a guy who was pretty scrappy, you know, wasn't the kind of guy who was going to, you know, be there for you to be landing clean shots on very much. But after that, did you go straight back to the gym and training? Obviously, you know, you celebrate, you spend time, you know, with family and friends, but did you kind of head back into the gym quickly afterwards? And would you be ready? Like, when, like, theoretically, if they had offered you 100K and it all worked out perfectly, you would have been able to be ready for this weekend for another fight.
1,000%. If it made sense financially for us to do it, where it's like, okay, they offered us enough money to where it's like, okay, like, this is more worth it because now you have something to gain from it, then 1,000% I would have been ready to fight. You know, like, obviously during the social gloves, you know, they show us, you know, like, landed hits and all this and that, you know, like, the whole time I'm fighting, you know, Corey, like, I got hit twice the whole entire fight.
Right.
And, you know, they go through all of that. That's why there was that big long downtime, you know, when they're bringing out the other fighters and they're sitting there talking, and we discussed. Oh, sorry, I lost you for a second. And I discussed this, you know, with them, with my team. I said, you know, like, yes, we just had a fight, but it's not like it was like a damaging fight. We're fine. We didn't get hit. We're not bruised. We're not beaten up. After that fight, obviously I took a week off. We were going at this thing. I was in fight camp for, 3 months. I dropped from 270 pounds to 228 pounds.
You played football around 250, right?
Yeah, around
Yeah.
250. And I lost a mass amount of weight, in the first month. And then, the fight got postponed, it got extended. So we went right back into fight camp. I stayed consistent with it, with my diet, my routine. We go into that second month of that fight camp, and you get exhausted through it, and it gets tiresome. And I took my week off. As soon as the week was up, I was right back in the gym. I got a new boxing coach. The guy I was with, he was not the best for me. Right. He was a very defensive guy. He preached, fight boring fights and do this and that. And it goes back to, we're entertainers, we're influencers. So I was right back in the gym. I'm working still. I train every day to this day. Get up and I get my miles in and all this and that. And, I'm better shape, better everything, and you got that first fight under your belt. It only goes up from there, so that's what's exciting about it. That's why I wanted, the next fight so soon.
Did you know that they were going to say nobody won regardless of how it ended?
I did know that because, on 4 or 5 separate occasions, I had them take me to the back, my team included, and they explained to me that they were not going to let me tee off on Corey just because of the weight difference. They checked my weight multiple times throughout that day to make sure that I was not 10 pounds over. I got weighed in the day before. I got weighed in twice the next day when I got there, and then right before the fight. And they were so concerned about me being so much larger than him. They pulled me aside. They said, we're going to give Corey more time to get up. We're going to, if you start teeing off on him, we're going to pull you off really quickly. And which they did in the fight. They did that a few times in the fight. The refs yelling, chase. It was never Corey stop, and it's not even so much I'm worried about, that fight, because you can go to Social Gloves website and you could look at the highlights of the fight. And it's just me just walking towards this guy, throwing my jabs, trying to get my hits in. It's still on their page. It's like all just highlights of me just trying to come at this guy. The guy tried to pick me up and wrestle me in the middle of the freaking boxing match, and I'm sitting here thinking this is nothing like I've experienced before. You grow up doing street fights. Boxing's more of a chess match than anything. And, it goes back to those politics that I'm talking about, show up to the JMX fight, whether, I fight the same fight, a better fight, different fight, if I don't clearly knock him out, there's still that chance of, the judges saying, well, JMX is our guy. This is our card. These are the guys that pay us. JMX won the fight,
Right. Well, it's interesting how these things kind of go. I think, to be fair, from a boxing standpoint, there were a couple of things, though, that I'd imagine you would look at, really, really, really basic things. You had, whatever about throwing a jab. Before you even throw the jab, you had an issue with your mouthpiece. Could you explain what happened there?
Yeah, so with the mouthpiece issue, so here's the thing with mouthpieces. I had 2 different mouthpieces. So the first mouthpiece that I was training with was this rubber braces mouthpiece. I have a very, very large mouth. Obviously, I'm a massive human, so a lot of mouthpieces don't fit inside of my mouth. The second mouthpiece I had, it was molded wrong, so it didn't fit within my teeth. So I'm sitting. It wasn't so much an issue with the mouthpiece. The issue with the mouthpiece was it didn't fit my mouth. It was too small. 2, I had the whole nose surgery. I got my deviated septum fixed, which Corey knew about, which was basically an easy button for him to hit, which he didn't. And I could not breathe out of my nose because obviously because of the surgery, it was clogged with stuffy. So I was breathing out of my mouth through a mouth guard that was too small, which is why, and then in every sport, you could go back and watch even my football highlights. It's something I've done since I was a little kid. I chew on my mouthpieces and I hang them out. It wasn't a fatigue thing. It wasn't any of that. It was, you got these commentators saying Chase is tired, his mouthpiece is hanging out. That is the stupidest thing I've ever heard. It was that's just what I do.
It didn't look like you were tired, and obviously you're a great athlete. You're a probably just under NFL level athlete, right, in terms of football.
Yeah, so I play in their spring league, so would be their minors. Yeah.
So the idea that you would be getting tired after 4 rounds of 2 minutes, I guess that it's different cardio and all of that. But the idea that it's not necessarily, that's not a fair thing to assume. But I do think that it does make it look like perhaps like it looked to a casual viewer. Now this isn't correct, but it looked to a casual viewer like this guy maybe had never sparred before and had maybe never put a mouthpiece in before for this kind of competition. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I 1000% get that, and I understand that, and it's just like I was actually very, very interested. It was very amusing to me to see like the different comments on different things.
Mm-hmm.
To me, playing football, nobody ever talks about a mouthpiece. You know what I mean? So it was
Right.
like
Yeah.
for boxing, everybody's talking about this mouthpiece, and then that was like the number one comment, like chasing this mouthpiece. And I'm sitting there thinking like, I would have rather fought without the mouthpiece.
That's true. Yeah.
Me personally, the only reason the mouthpiece was in there is for the sake of the judges. We had to have them in. If it was
Mm-hmm.
my choice, I wouldn't even have had the mouthpiece, or I would have at least got a different one. And in football, you have a mouthpiece that doesn't fit, you spit it out, and there's athletic trainers that have other ones. You don't have that luxury in boxing, unfortunately. So, um, you know, it is what it is with the mouthpiece. I'm not really concerned with that. That
Mm-hmm.
fight's put to bed. It's over with. It's
And that
moved on
wouldn't
to the
be an
next.
issue the next time you would know, because little things like that do affect you though. Like I know I've never really boxed properly before, but I've done little spars and stuff. And when you've got a crap mouthpiece in that doesn't work, it can get in your way. You've been wearing these things for your whole life doing football. And if
Yeah.
you were playing a game and you had the wrong thing in your mouth, maybe you pick up a teammate or something, I don't know, it could really mess up your game.
Oh yeah, no, it was definitely more of like a distraction because like you see like during the fight, you're thinking about a multitude of different things. Your eyes are glued to this guy, but it's still in your head you're sitting there thinking like, well, I got this mouthpiece in, like
Mm-hmm.
if I get popped and it comes out, it's gonna look bad. There definitely
Sure.
was a lot of that in there, but in my head it wasn't like I was thinking mouthpiece, mouthpiece, mouthpiece. Now
Yeah.
moving forward in the boxing world, now that you've done these fights and you understand how they work, it's like okay, well now that's going to be something I'm thinking of. Whereas, previously that wasn't something that I really comprehend. You know what I mean?
So new trainer, new camp. Who's the new trainer? Or are you allowed to say yet or no?
I can't really say yet.
Okay.
It's very low key right now, especially because he posts like a lot of clips. So I don't want it to really, really come out just yet. But I will be announcing him, very soon. Within the next
November,
couple.
November probably out. You're probably not going to do the Misfits card in November, I would think. It's quite soon.
I wouldn't completely rule it out. If
But
it makes
January would be
sense.
preferable.
January would be preferable, but like I said, we're ready to fight at any time. If Misfits comes around and says, we got a guy for you on the November 19th card, that I believe is in America,
Mm-hmm.
in Texas, I believe.
Yeah.
It makes more sense for me and my team to get there. Then I wouldn't completely rule it out. But like I said, all we can do right now is we're staying in shape, we're staying ready, we're staying locked in, ready to go for whatever opportunity comes. And I think tomorrow is going to show like a lot of like where influencing boxing is. And I think I'm really excited to see a few of those fights tomorrow, the Ryan Taylor and Slim one specifically. But
Mm-hmm.
As far as JMX and Ginty goes, I will not be tuning into that one.
Last one for me. Do you think that the football thing could get in the way at all? Like I know that the XFL season starts very soon after that. I know they've been in contact, right? They have an interest in getting you in there. Is there a possibility that you could end up finding yourself in preseason for one of these leagues, or are you kind of focused on boxing at this point?
Yeah, there's always that possibility of getting called up for football. That was a risk, even taking this last boxing match.
Mm-hmm.
With playing in these minor leagues, you can get a call up at any time to go to the NFL.
Yeah.
That was something that weighed heavily on me. Because like football training and boxing are two different things.
Wildly,
It's
yeah.
two different weights, two different everything. And so, as far as with the XFL coming, that draft is happening a week after Valentine's Day. So, we definitely have some time. The January card's going to happen, and then we'll see what happens with football. That thing is always not guaranteed as well. So I'm not too concerned about it. It definitely is a possibility, but we can't be worried about the what ifs. All we can really do is stay locked into what we have going on, and what potentially can come of it.
Wouldn't that be amazing? You'd knock out JMX in January. 3 weeks later, they call you up for the XFL in the draft, and you end up playing there. And then maybe afterwards back to the NFL. They would be it would be a great story, wouldn't it?
It would be a hell of a story. I'd love to tell that one. That's the goal right now. That sounds like a hell of a year for me.
JMX is the last guy in boxing. You think? You think January will be the end of your career? You know, whether in boxing for now, because you're going to be focusing more again on football.
No, and that's the thing is like, I really fell in love with the process of boxing. It's one of those sports I never really got to do because I played, basketball, football, baseball, track, like all these other things. I never did boxing, and then I tried boxing. I kind of fell in love with it. I fell in love with the grind and what it entails. And I think that boxing is going to be around for me for the rest of my life. I firmly believe that, and I think that with these fight cards, with playing football. I'm just gonna have to find a way to sort in between them. But you know, I feel like I have a long career, a promising career ahead of me as far as boxing goes. And this is something I started, in June, and I'm gonna continue to improve on it and continue to get better and continue to, one influencer at a time, and just leave it at that.
Hey, it has happened before. I know that in rugby, Sonny Bill Williams was able to jump between sports. He was able to do rugby union one day, then rugby league, and then go over to box during the off season for both of them. It's possible, Le'Veon Bell, I believe, thinks that he's going to play football again. So it's very possible you get boxing in during the off seasons or something. But Chase, look, I thank you so much for your time coming on this evening, and I look forward to getting this out there and seeing what the people have to say. And thank you so much, sir.
I appreciate you so much. Thanks for having me.